Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Random Album Review. For those of you who don't already know, I'm Larry,
And I'm Brian.
and the way this works is each week Brian and I alternate choosing an album that the other person will listen to for the first time, or maybe the first time in its entirety, because I know Brian has probably heard some of the songs on here before, just through me. But then, we're going to get on camera and we talk about it for a little bit. We talk about our thoughts, we go into some of the songs. And then yeah, we give our genuine feedback, as a new listener, as somebody who's listened to it before, and then we give it a score and we move on. So
Yeah,
today,
today.
going back to 2019 and
Oh,
would have
way
been
back.
junior year of high school for us. Ginger by Brockhampton. Um, I still remember the day that what would have been the fifth album got canceled, Puppy, and devastating, absolutely devastating. But for the reasons that I'll get into, uh, it needed to happen. Um, but yeah, this is the fifth studio album from the group, following slightly mixed reactions to their fourth album, Iridescence, which again had some issues in production because of issues within the band. But I relate this album a lot to time in high school. I listened to it a lot, especially during my junior year and even into my senior year. Um, Talks a lot about maturity, growing up, dealing with your own problems. The band members on here, they're heavy, heavy tones of in these troubled times for the band. Some of the members, looking for God or looking for somebody to look for answers. Um, Specifically, and the reason why Puppy ended up getting canceled was because of former band member Elmir Vaughn. Um, did some things that I won't discuss. Very horrible things. Um,
Bad.
he ne-
Awful.
he needed to be removed from the group. He lied to the group about it, and they had to remove him. And there was a lot of betrayal, a lot of mixed feelings from everyone. So there was a lot of tension within the band because nobody knew what to do, where to go. But Ginger is where they went, and I think in terms of where they were at as a band, the album absolutely hits. It very troubled time for the group, like I said, um, and they hit the undertones of growing up, being bigger, better people. They talk about what had gone on in the Amir Vaughn controversy, and they express their feelings and emotions towards it, and it's a good way for them to move on from things. Um, so first of all, I wanted to go into just a few of the songs, like we do. Specifically, I wanted to go over the opening track, "No Halo," which right away the religion is just there. No halo. Well, what does that mean? It means you're not an angel. You're gonna go to hell.
Got no Halo. Yeah.
Um, so this song, the group speaks a lot about their imperfections as human beings, going into topics such as their failed relationships, breakups, troubled mental health history, substance abuse, things that are unfortunately very common in the music industry. Um, in the very first line of the song, Kevin Abstract even says, "I don't know where I'm going," and you know what? I felt that. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah. I mean, does anyone know where they're going? Like, be
Some
honest,
people,
if you
yeah,
do, good for you. Because holy
good for
crap,
you.
that's extremely planned out. So
Some people, some people like to think they know where they're going, but life changes, unfortunately. Um,
unfortunately, sometimes unfortunately, not all the time though.
Not all the time.
All at 50-50, I'd say.
Um, but this opening line from Kevin Abstract just immediately hits the listener with a feeling of uncertainty because I mean, again, the group doesn't know what they're doing or where they're going with this album yet. But um, Matt's verse follows it, and he specifically talks about a past relationship. Um, says, "Used to skip rocks round that bend. We don't go there no more. We don't see sun no more." Uh, Obviously, specifically talking about somewhere that he and somebody else went to in the past. There's a memory there. He doesn't see the sun there anymore, so he doesn't find happiness there. So obviously, whoever this person was, it did not end on good terms. Um, the chorus for the song, and I absolutely love the chorus. It's a work with Deb Never, Merlin, and Matt Champion, where Deb Never sings the entire chorus, but then Merlin and Matt Champion alternate lines, and the chorus is simply just repeated. "I'm sure I'll find it. No one help me when my eyes go red." This obviously tie back to the opening line of "I don't know where I'm going," but they know they they don't know where they're going, but they know they're gonna get there one day. They're gonna figure it out. They're gonna find it out. No one help me when my eyes go red. I could be interpreted as two different ways. It could be crying, sadness. No one helps you
Mhm.
when you're sad, this and that. Or another thing I had seen some people had said online was they are tying it into obviously the usage of marijuana, the red
Uh,
eyes.
yeah.
But again, it depends on how you look at it personally. Um, then you have Don McLennan's verse, where he says, "The pressure put me into places where I'm stuck in the seams. They sealed my mouth shut and said the only way to breathe is to scream, pop the stitches from society, and fall to my knees." Um, as somebody who has, struggled with my own mental health, I know exactly, not necessarily the society putting pressure on me part, because I'm not famous by any means, but feeling that pressure and feeling like I'm stuck in place, feeling like I have to be doing something, I have to be going forward, I have to be getting better, but you just sometimes you feel like you can't. You feel like you're tied up.
Yeah, I get that. Sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, but like, what is it? It's like, I mean, just lyric. I don't know. Sounds like it's what is it? I think you said it right. It says symbolizes like, oh, it says he says society, but I think it symbolizes like how society tells everyone, not just specifically anyone, but like everyone, like, oh, you gotta go forward. You gotta do this. You gotta do that.
You're gonna
Can't
be
do anything.
fine.
Can't express yourself. You're like, oh, that? Nah, no problem. That's something small. Let's get past it. Go on. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so then I wanted to follow up by going to the second track on the album, "Sugar," which is uh, specifically it feels like a love song. That's how it feels, but it talks a lot about drug use. It talks a lot about wanting to be there for your partner in your relationships, but in some ways, it comes off very, very differently than I think may have been necessarily intended. Just because the way that a lot of the lines in it, specifically, I mean, obviously the chorus and everything, the way it works, it's going to repeat itself, but it feels eerie in some ways to me personally. But I absolutely love this song. Um, the chorus, which is by Ryan Beatty, who is a friend
mm,
of the band, of the group. He sings the chorus for the song, and absolutely beautiful rendition. Uh, Spending all my nights alone, waiting for you to call me. You're the only one I want by my side when I fall asleep. Tell me what I'm waiting for. Tell me what I'm waiting for. I know it's hard, but we need each other. You know it's hard, but we need each other. And I still remember the day when the music video dropped for this album. It's so strange. They use like I can't remember off the top. It was either like claymation or they use like felt puppets or something, and it's just all over the place. And this song ended up actually getting popular on. And I don't know if you remember, but it ended up getting popular on. I can't remember if it was TikTok at the time, if it had changed. I think it was, but this song ended up blowing up a little bit on TikTok for a little while, and just
Oh.
I love this song. Dom's verse, changed your mind when I left, or changed your mind when I changed my life. Better start believing in myself. And we all out looking for God, so we never see it in ourself. Um, he's talking about obviously people are they're looking for the answers in God. He's obviously referencing probably he and his band members, but all along, if you start believing in yourselves and in who you are, uh, it's always been there. And again, like kind of a relatable feeling, just because we have it within us. It's hard to see. It is, but um, Dom then follows it up later in the verse saying, "My instability's trademark, copywritten in all my decisions. This is not supposed to be a way of living. Turn my temple down into a prison." Talking about, in my opinion, I think, talking about referring to his temple, uh, referring to his head, his mind, turning it into a prison. He feels trapped within himself. Um, he feels, and part of it is, when he says my instability is trademark, copywritten in all my decisions, it feels kind of like he's trying to say he feels like he can really only rap or talk about his struggles. He feels like he can't voice anything else. At least that's how I see it. I don't know if that makes
Uh,
sense.
yeah, it makes sense. It's like, like I said, his trademark, right? Like his instability. So it's like,
It's part of him.
well,
You
yeah, it's
can't
part
get
of him.
rid
It's
of
like,
him.
yeah, anything he does will have that mark on him,
Yeah.
or that part of him in it. So kind of is his just like his quirk kind of thing,
Hmm.
which well,
You
I
know,
don't know.
it's part of him. He's owning up to it. He understands it.
Mm.
Um, then I wanted to highlight the outro for the album or for the song, uh, where Bareface, and it's haunting, and this is the part where I say it's kind of eerie and haunting, because Bareface repeatedly sings over and over again, "So do you love me, love me, love me? Do you love me, love me, love me?" And it just keeps repeating for like 8 or 9 lines, and
They did go on for a while.
it does,
That
and it
gives me it did give an eerie kind of feeling
it's
though.
it's eerie. It feels unnerving. Um, but then I wanted to move on to the seventh track on the album, and in my opinion, probably the best, "Dearly Departed," which this is where it kind of feels like the turning point in not only the album. I mean, obviously this is the halfway point, but also for the band as like a whole maturity thing and getting over specifically because this song is very, very heavily about the Amir Vaughn situation. Um, Kevin and the very opening, in the very opening verse on the song, Kevin Abstract says, "What's the point of having a best friend if you end up losing him?" Uh, Obviously, talking about Amir Vaughn, and he even at first, when the situation was first unfolding, and not a lot of the details were known, Kevin Abstract did defend Amir on Twitter several times, talked about him being his best friend. They were great friends. They've been friends for years and years and years, and you know, he just hits you with that line of, what's the point of having a best friend if you're gonna end up losing him? He feels, betrayed,
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, backstabbed him. I mean, what else can you? I mean, it's all those type of all the synonyms of those words. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So
then you have the chorus by Joba. He says, "Dearly departed, look what you've started. I've been so heartless." And again, this is kind of like that eerie sense that I was talking about with Sugar. It kind of repeats itself here with the chorus, where he repeats, "I try, I try, I try. Why?" And then try again. Um, Again, just really unsettling. You know, especially in the context of the song and everything that's being discussed here. Um, Matt in his verse, Matt Champion says, "Big dog, I feel like I don't got anybody on my side no more. Highest to low, truth be told, it's hard to ignore, hard to endure. Where's my stamina in this life?" Again, talking about the Amir Vaughn situation and his feelings. He feels like he lost somebody that he saw as, a good friend, somebody on his side. The truth has been told now. The band members know. He can't lie about it anymore. Hard to ignore, hard to endure as a band. Again, why they had to move on from him, because you leave him in the group, well, that follows you everywhere, and that follows all of the other members.
yeah,
Because, well, why'd you keep him? You
it
know,
That happens a lot usually. Like,
it's
okay, hold on, let me restate that. Like, when a controversy shows up, usually,
you have to remove it.
yeah. In my expertise, right area of expertise for years, usually in K-pop, whenever let's say a person has a controversy, right? Usually, the company will make them go on a hiatus or a break for a little while. They investigate, and a lot of sometimes they'll come back false and nothing, and they come back. But obviously, the person that was in that break, they're stressed because they don't know, like, obviously, if they didn't do it, then they're like totally stressed, but
Yeah,
they don't know what happened. But if they did it, then they're like, okay, yeah, I did it. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'll leave the group.
yeah. I mean,
Sometimes they go solo. Sometimes they retire completely, never hear them again.
yeah,
But yeah, usually you wanna, or usually, the controversy is kicked out,
yeah.
gone like
It
that.
just for the sake of the group and for everyone else in the group and for everyone else's careers, it's a decision you have to. It's an unfortunate one because they were friends, but you can't have that.
Yeah.
Matt later in his verse, and he says, "Bloody colored trinkets wrapped around my wrist," and you don't really think much of that about it just hearing it, but bloody colored trinkets wrapped around my wrist. Obviously, a tie to suicide. Possibly cutting your wrists.
Hmm.
Um, then Dom's verse, which Dom kind of has an extra layer to the whole Amir situation because Dom had one of his friends not in Brockhampton, who was robbed and jumped at. I don't know the exact details, but robbed and jumped, was beaten pretty badly. It turns out that after a while had gone on, that Dom found out that Amir actually had planned the entire hit out on his friend, and again, on top of the other situation that had happened with Amir, Dom has more here. This entire verse, he's practically at the start, not necessarily, but especially towards like the middle to the end, he is practically screaming. Um, and if you listen very closely at the end as well, after he says the last line, you can hear him like step away from the microphone and walk out of the studio and slam the studio door shut. If you listen very closely. Um, but Dom says, "How many sides to a story can there be when you saw it with your own eyes?" Obviously referencing the armed robbery of his friend. Um, then he goes on to say, "And it's not my fault, and it's not my problem anymore." Obviously, the referencing, Amir's no longer with the group. "That's just where you stand. That's just who you are. That's your cross to bear. You could talk to God because At one point, I believe on Saturation 2 or Saturation 3, Amir talks heavily about like being inspired by God and like trying to follow God. Um, and Dom finishes it out by saying, "I don't want to hear motherfucker," and that's the line he just screams, he yells, and then he leaves.
Yeah, something he
He
like.
he truly got all of his feelings and all of his emotions out on this one record. And if anybody ever wanted to go back and look, you can go and find the tweets that Dom sent out about Amir and the entire situation when it was all happening. Um, Dom still, and he has probably every reason to. Dom still holds a lot against Amir,
Yeah,
and he has every single right, every right. Everyone in the band does. I mean,
yeah,
what he did, lying about it, and he own up to it at least.
yeah.
On top of being a horrible person, don't lie. Um,
Hmm.
so I just wanted to highlight now that we're through talking about the three songs that I would probably consider my three favorites. I did want to highlight a favorite of the three and my favorite song on the album specifically, and we just talked about it, Dearly Departed. Very
Hmm.
emotional, very Dom's verse at the end just seals that song and just it makes you feel something. Did you have any songs that specifically stuck out to you? Any one or two maybe?
Um, well, listening to it first, Dearly Departed, truthfully made no sense to me, but there was a lot of emotion in that song. Tell you that much. No Halo, I like No Halo. I mean, the songs we talked about today were probably the ones I liked a lot too.
Oh yeah, it
Um,
probably the three that are the most remembered from the album as well. And I mean, just the nature of music. Um,
yeah.
any personally, when it comes down to talking about my least favorite on this album,
Hmm.
I don't really think I can pick one. I like this album holds a lot of nostalgia for me. Like listening to it this past week for the sake of the podcast again. First time I've listened to it front to back in a little while, and very just it made me feel in ways like I was in high. I'm glad I'm not in high school anymore. So glad I'm not, but in ways, especially with everything that I've been going through recently, kind of just took me back to a simpler time, you know.
Yeah,
And a lot of that is just the nostalgia I have for this album. Like I said, it was on repeat for a lot of my days in junior and senior year.
yeah.
So personally, I can't pick a song that I would say is bad or a least favorite. I'd say if anything, maybe "Heaven Belongs to You," but even then, I enjoy every song.
Um, well, for me, I'm not really a music hater, although there are a few songs that I will never listen to. But that's a different story for a different time, and that song will never show up on this podcast. I'm pretty sure it's a single anyway. Let me check.
Oh boy, you're gonna have to tell me what it is
Uh,
after we're done.
I don't want to.
Well, I
Is
won't
this
pick it.
was this on an album? Oh, you don't need to. Was this on an album? It was on an album. Oh, it's an EP technically. How many songs are on there? It doesn't matter. It's never being chosen. All right. It's called "Sneakers" by Itzy,
Yeah, I
and
don't.
there was a trailer for it, and it looked really cool. And then they dropped the most the trailer looked like it was supposed to be like a cool beat and stuff, and then the song is just not what it was, and I was like, yeah, I'm never again. Anyway,
Sure.
besides that, I don't really dislike songs. They're not really least favorite. I
It,
mean, yeah, they
yeah,
all sounded pretty good. None of them were bad per se. None of them
yeah.
didn't sound weird. They're all pretty good. Mm.
So overall, like I said, I know you've heard some of these songs and just in passing through me and through some of our other friends.
Yeah.
What was the experience like? What would you say the overall experience was listening to it first time, front to back, everything as a story?
Um, they're unique. Obviously, I wasn't listening like it's not like my goal of this series show, is to listen to these songs as if I'm enjoying it. I'm not listening. I'm not like a music major
Yeah, yeah.
going through a class. Or one of my things
This
is to
isn't.
analyze this album. But I'm not analyzing anything. I'm just listening to it,
Yeah, this
feeling the vibe
is
of it and stuff.
like when it comes to our musical knowledge between you and I, they're so like
Little.
we know about music, but we don't know music. It's
Yeah.
something I always wanted to get more into, but just like never had the time, never had the money. It's unfortunate,
Hmm.
but this is just like purely like from inexperienced, people talking about music.
Yeah.
Um, so overall, you'd say, you enjoyed the album.
Yeah. I enjoyed the album. Nothing really out there, wacky or anything. So
Hmm.
not bad.
Yeah. Coming from somebody who's listened to all of Brockhampton's music, uh, it is very different from a lot of their other music. Not a bad thing by any means. Uh, I know at first some fans were a little questionable on it just because, no Amir, no like true bangers, but there's a
True
lot of
banger.
there's a lot of music on this album that I just truly enjoy. Makes me feel like I'm in high school again. Um, Personally, I give it an 8.75 out of 10.
Nice. Very very specific. Want to
I
go into a thousandth place too, or?
just keep going.
uh, yeah. I give it a 7.3 out of 10. I like that. It wasn't bad. Nothing really
Yeah,
stuck
and
out. Like I said.
that's fair. There's a lot of, I mean, just the sake of like the typical like Brockhampton music. Like there's a lot of like just out there lyrics in this album. A lot of references to like cartoons and media. They love doing that, and it still is a Brockhampton record at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, but I believe that covers everything I wanted to cover. Brian,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um. I mean, I got nothing much more unless you want to
no, that's
put some words in my mouth, but doubt it.
yeah. So Brian actually said that no, but anyway, if you
Am I gonna
guys
finish it?
have listened to Ginger before, what would you rate it? Do you have a favorite song? Let us know down in the comments below, perhaps. I recommend giving it a try, absolutely. Um, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we're going to see you next week.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye, guys.